Hey, I'm Kim.
And I'm Pancho, and you're listening to Now That You See It, a show that will ruin you for boring conversations forever.
It's about the invisible stuff that shapes how we think and connect those, oh, wait, what? Moments that change how you perceive the world around you.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Noelle,
Hey,
welcome.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Pancho.
Sam, Noel, hi. So, this is our first episode where we've brought in a guest, and I'm excited. I think Noel's someone who I'd always enjoy spending time with and hearing from. Kim,
Yeah, and
what's
before we turn this over to Noelle to introduce herself, I will also say I'm thrilled to have you here, Noelle. In large part because Pancho and I met because of you. And that is just so beautiful. So we met through a coaching program that you started and now run. That we'd love to hear a little bit more about. Today, we're not going to talk about the coaching program. We're talking about really cool things that we won't tease too much right now, but has a lot to do with nature and just human evolution and just really cool things that we understand about humans, but particularly that you understand about humans because you've got such a cool background in trying to understand humans from very different angles. So, with that, let us turn it over to you. Who are you? Tell us about
Well,
yourself.
I'm a hippie. I live in Philly. No, but in all seriousness, I am a hippie. I do live in Philadelphia. My name is Noelle Cordeaux, and I am one of the founders, and I'm the CEO of a life coach training program called Lumia that I'm very delighted to have founded, and it has graduated amazing people like Pancho and Kim. And my background is really weird and diverse. It includes English literature, comparative literature, feminist studies, law, organizational psychology, executive coaching, human sexuality, social work, education. And I think that's about it. I finally stopped going to grad school when I founded this company. So that's the
Did you
breadth of my
have,
background.
okay, so those are all the like things you know, but did you have any like weird jobs that you can tell us about?
Yeah, so I went through the police academy when I was 19 years old.
Wait, I'm so glad I asked that
never
Yeah.
question.
would have guessed that?
Yeah, I
Wait,
know.
what? What? Tell us about this.
That's my icebreaker. That's my like thing you'd never guess about Noelle when I
Nope.
do
Hmm.
community icebreakers. Yes, I was a class one officer. I am allowed by our fine federal government to wield a nightstick. So I'm nightstick certified and
Excellent.
Stick certified. I didn't know there was a certification for this. I've
oh
been
yeah.
wielding one without a license for years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So and I also I did a pretty cool stint as a Disney character for children's birthday parties. I was Belle for a decent tenure. So that was also super fun. Lots of cake and pizza.
You were Belle.
Wow.
Oh my God. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Pancho, now I want to know, did you have any weird jobs that I don't know about yet?
No. Did I have any weird jobs?
Can you match Belle? Like, were you Gaston at any point?
No, yeah,
No,
no.
with a
I mean,
nightstick.
I think my weirdest job, no, working at it, I think I was a janitor every summer in high school to pay for my private school fees, and I think that doesn't quite match up with what people know about me or think about me now. Um, So yeah, I would spend summers, like completely waxing, like buffering, waxing, redoing the floors on an entire high school, painting the walls, all of that stuff. So yeah, that would probably be but police academy, Noel, knowing who you are now, uh, for as people get to hear more from you, I think they will come back to you knowing that you were in the police academy and there's got to be a story there. And maybe that's, a whole nother conversation, um, at some point in the
Yeah.
future. Yeah.
The hippie in
Yeah.
Philadelphia went to the police academy. Cool.
Yeah.
Was it in
What
New
about you,
Jersey?
Kim? Oh,
Wait, what? What
I want to know what your weird
jurisdiction?
job is.
I'll eventually give it
Oh,
up. What
yeah, yeah, yeah.
jurisdiction was your police academy?
I was in New Jersey at the time.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
awesome. Cool. My weird job uh, was some combination of I worked at Applebee's in like whatever they needed me to do. So I bar backed, I waitressed, I bartended, I cleaned the bathrooms, I was running food, I was doing all kinds of things. But I will tell you that they were very kind to me because I was terrible at all of these jobs. I, every time somebody wanted their food to go, I would like get in my habit energy and just like dump it in the trash and be like, you want to take that home. Among other things, but I can slice lemons and garnish drinks very well now. Skills.
Beautiful.
So yeah.
Beautiful.
So shall we get into our conversation today?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Pancho and I
Yeah.
have been, running this podcast and having a great time thinking about things that sort of tickle the brain, the things that once you see it, you can't unsee it. And we can talk to ourselves all day long about these cool things, but we are deciding to bring guests in because not only does it shake it up, and people might want to hear from more than just us, but truly there is a kind of like new energy and ideas that come from just other people and other lives lived. So Noelle, we brought this on because you've got 10,000 little strands of probably great ideas of once you see it, you can't unsee it. But tell us what is top of mind today for you of like, man, this is it. This is what is like things that I saw, can't unsee, and people might want to know more about.
Yeah. So, I mean, coming from the lens of being a life coach trainer, running an organization that has graduated thousands of coaches that work with humans. The whole point of coaching, of life coaching, is to help human better, do their jobs better, achieve their dreams, and create truly a better future for all of us. So, I spend a lot of time deep in thought about humanity, the state of humanity and the psyche of humanity, the psychodynamics of our time. And I think about the way that the average person kind of wakes up and goes through their day and the metrics that might be included in that could be how do I look? What does the scale say? What does my bank account say? What does my performance review say? Are my children doing okay? How's the health of my relationship? Am I measuring up according to societal standards, to my neighbors, to the mom group that I'm a part of on Facebook, or what I see on Instagram? And something that I think about deeply is how artificial all of those measures are and how they are unique to our time and have not always existed, but they exist now due to a certain level of commodification that began at the dawn of the Industrial Revolution. And I can tell you that whole story. It's actually a really cool one. But it's a new way of being that's based on measurement. And one of the things that I try to espouse in my work, in my teaching, in the way I show up in the world is that we have choices and we are animals and we are part of ecological wholes and we are part of the march of history. And there's so much more to being a human than checking the boxes and these crazy rubrics that we somehow ended up with in 2025.
Pancho.
Yeah. No, I love that. W- What for the sake of a counterexample, we have all of these arbitrary things that we measure ourselves against that are cultural conventions. We've made them up and now we all agree to them. What comes to mind for you as something that isn't that would be a measure for yourself in your life to consider?
Yeah. Um, slowness, joy, ease, sensory activation, which would include flavors. Well, personal ritual. I went through, a really hard couple years that I'm well, not just a couple years, several years that I'm just coming out of now, psychologically, mentally, emotionally. And during that period of time, I was forced to slow down and really take stock of myself and my existence and uh, why I was grinding, what it was doing, how it was impacting my world, my relationships, my being. And one of the rituals that brought me back was every morning I make a really dark, rich cup of espresso and Americano, and I have a fresh slice of sourdough toast. And I sit in silence in my beautiful apartment that is sunlit with my dog, and I taste the flavors and I look at the light. And that is the way that I start my day, and that is the measure for me of my own humanness at this point in my life.
It's beautiful. Noelle, at what point in the dark days did you notice this is helping?
I didn't have a choice. I was so deep in burnout, and I was physically unable to do so many of the things that I had not only done previously, but done at lightning speed. And so when some days all I could do was sit and taste the flavors and activate my senses and be, that was the point at which I began to say, I'm not on my knees, I'm sitting on my couch.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it made a huge difference.
Oh, that's really powerful. Do you look like you're coming up with something?
What was that difference? What's the difference between being on your knees and being on the couch? And how is that important?
Integration. Integrate, 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 integrate. The words of my therapist are ringing in my head. Um, you know, uh, Human beings are no different than any other living thing. We look at trees. They get struck by lightning, they still grow and continue. We look at nature. Nature's actually pretty violent. Seeds, in order to sprout, need to spontaneously combust from the inside, and they sprout through this dark earth with no knowledge that there's a world out there, sunlight, rain. They might get eaten by a deer at any second, right? And humans are actually, no different. And so we experience injury, emotional injury, physical injury, relational injury, all types of injury, and we have to recover. And that's where the scar tissue forms that builds the muscle for us. And so through the process of slowing down, healing and integrating, figuring out what is actually elemental, that's how we begin to come back to ourselves. My dog, George, is 14 years old, and there is nothing more elemental than my dog staring at me with love in the morning as we sit, and he gets he gets toast too. That's that's part of
He's
the
like, I love
deal
this ritual for you and
for
me.
him and me.
Espresso,
Yeah.
sourdough. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's,
Great.
that's as pure as it gets.
Yeah. This experience of measuring ourselves by quantitative external measures and not like waking up with sun, coming home when the birds like chirp a certain way, like knowing that that's the time that things that nature is moving in this cycle. Pancho, I want to bring you in because this is part of your life's work too, of connecting to nature and bringing it into leadership and development. What are you picking up in this conversation about some either the folks you've worked with or just your own journey?
Mm. Yeah, a lot of what Noelle says resonates with me when I hear her talk. And as you were talking just now about the ways in which we measure ourselves in our society, I was wondering to myself about the ways that you think we could consider measuring ourselves that as a society we don't. for me, w- I think the big picture through line is there are things we never consider because they're just not part of the water we swim in. They're not part of the relationships we have. Our friends have never thought about these things. And for one really clear and obvious example that came to mind, Kim, as you were just talking, is bird language, which is the randomest, weirdest thing to bring. People are like, "What are you talking about? Bird language?"
It's so real.
But
No, totally.
the
Yeah.
whole concept that like if you are in a place with wild animals, they are all always paying attention to one another and to what is happening around them through almost like this communication web of signals that they send. And the number one signaler in the entire forest or the jungle or, whatever wild landscape is out there is the birds.
Mhm.
They tell everybody what's happening before anybody else picks up on it. And so going about your day, even just walking to the park, there's a park across the street. I notice the birds communicating with each other and like getting in little tiffs, and there's like crows and geese and ducks and Cooper's hawks and squirrels and noticing which ones get along and which ones don't. And for some particular reason, the crows and the squirrels really hate each other. And the squirrels also don't like the Cooper's hawks, but like sometimes they'll form alliances. Like I notice these things walking, and most people wouldn't recognize what's there. And it makes the lived experience of going outside so much richer. As you were saying, Noel, there's a part of being human there that is available to us when we start to understand. It's not that hard to notice if we just have enough structure and context to notice it with. So to pass the baton to Noel, what are the things that come to mind for you in terms of being human? You were talking about really simple stuff, right? Like just paying attention to the flavors of what you're putting in your mouth and slowing down and stopping anything else that you're doing to be able to do that. What else is there?
Yeah. So even thinking about birds, right, and being a part of an ecological whole, there's a really cool aspect of science called primals. I was first aware of this work in 2020 when a study on prime worldview was published in the Journal of Positive Psychology. When someone has a prime worldview that involves seeing themselves as part of an ecological whole. They decrease their mortality rates. They feel better. They feel more connected. They stave off loneliness. There's, all sorts of health outcomes. The alternative is people who do not view themselves as part of a whole, but view themselves as part of factions, warring
Mm,
factions, where
mm.
there are a lot of others that are against them. Living in Philadelphia, I think of the Eagles, right? The football team. I am not a sports fan, but I really like it when everyone in the city is happy because the team is winning, right? Like thinking about, constantly thinking about opposition increases mortality rates, contributes to health problems, increases violence within society. And even thinking about, oh God, we have a loneliness epidemic. If we're able to consider birds as legitimate parts of our community, when we leave our houses, we're not alone on a street. We're actually in community. And you need to activate your senses in order to explore that richness, that sound. We can focus on sound. Our senses all compete with each other. And so if you're selecting a sense to practice with, you might try walking down a street and just noticing, what do I hear? Do I hear birds? Do I hear children? Do I hear dogs? Do I hear cars? Do I hear music? Do I hear sounds coming from a restaurant? And in that experience, you begin to embed in the place that you're in and experience more wholeness, more connection with yourself, others, the world.
That's beautiful. One of the, I don't know, feelings I'm getting listening to you is that I'm thinking about the many people in our world who are, I mean, like me, I'm part of this, who are hooked onto external measures. And we're used to the speed, the grind. When we think about slowing down and measuring ourselves by like natural cycles or just with senses, just like experiencing that, I imagine there is almost a addiction like withdrawal when we shift from what society measures to naturally what we're more attuned to, but like there's no cultural support for that.
No.
As you were making your journey, what did you experience? Like I'm projecting a little bit of like, man, I'd be going through some withdrawal if I was doing that. What was that like for you?
Yeah. I mean, it was dark night of the soul and death of the ego.
Yeah.
I became a CEO at 36. I don't have a strong background in business. I don't have an MBA. I was, completing a PhD in human sexuality. I accidentally founded a company. I ended up in Los Angeles, very far away from home, living by myself, building and working and building and working as if I were driven by some outside force, and I did that for years, maybe 7 or 8 years before the pace, capitalist society, pressures caught up with me, and at the time when I crashed, I was really at what, um, a lot of folks would consider to be at the peak of my career. I was locking down corporate contracts with name brand organizations. Our business was expanding rapidly. We hit the Inc. 5,000 list for the fastest growing life coaching company in the country. And it was check, 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 check. My health fell apart. My marriage fell apart. My relationships fell apart. And I physically couldn't do it anymore because the race that I was running is not natural. We humans are not meant to be on that treadmill, and all of the pieces of myself that had led me to found our company were grounded in community, food, love, care, mutual aid, mutual support. And when I jumped into what I was supposed to be doing, it went off the rails.
Yeah.
Mhm. What did off the rails look like?
I was gross, man. Like, I was sick, I was tired, I didn't wanna do it anymore.
Yeah.
I and you both know how much we love our organization and how beautiful it is. I wanted out, I almost folded the company. I was so tired, I was so broken, I thought I broke my brain. I didn't know if I would be able to be a productive person ever again.
Yeah.
Pancho, I think I cut you off. You looked like you're about to.
Yeah. No, this is a question for both of you. No, because you've gone through it, and Cam, you coach people on this.
Right now, baby.
What needs, yeah, exactly. What needs to get put down? You have to pick up all of these things, right? Putting myself in the shoes of somebody who is at that place. Like, I don't fucking have time to, burn 20 minutes drinking my Americano in the morning. I'm up at 4:30 in the morning. I go to the gym and then I'm on my computer or my phone for 12 hours. And then I, do the bare necessities before I have to go to sleep, get 6 hours of sleep max, and do it all over again. Do that at least 5 days a week. So, what needs to get put down either literally or maybe more metaphorically or at the level of identity? And then what needs to get picked up once you've put those things down?
Noelle, you want to answer?
Yeah, so it's hard when we live in a capitalist society with harsh realities, and there are sometimes immovable boundaries that we all, need to face. And there are periods of our lives where we do need to grind really hard, and we need to harness energy, we need to harness motivation, we need to be in peak physical form, and we need to know what our unique template is for being able to deliver on those fronts, and there are limits to what we can all reasonably sustain. And so I would say that sustainability needs to enter the conversation. Um, I like to work. I like to be productive. I have a lot that I want to do in the world. I'm 45 years old. I'm just getting started. Breaks need to happen. So, thinking about ritual very deeply. And if we're thinking about cycles of nature and cycles of society, after a harvest, humans took a break and they partied and they celebrated that the grain was there. Or after a hunt, there was a feast and there was drinking and there was joy and there was dancing and there was rest. And so how do we nourish ourselves after times of intensity?
Yeah. Oh my God. I just want to affirm that that experience of people don't often call it burnout. They just say like, I feel broken. My brain is gone. I feel literally dumber. Like my IQ points got left in the parking lot before I entered work today. I don't know where they
Yeah.
went. I'm snapping at my family or like I'm raging or just I'm cynical. I don't want to be here. I don't, the stuff I used to love, I really don't want it
Yeah.
anymore. And sometimes it takes retrospect. Some people can do it in the moment, but to be able to say, that wasn't me, that was burnt out me. But that's what burnout does, is it takes away your human self. And it's a natural biological response to too much. Like it is actually our body working exactly as it's supposed to. This is what is like always been, this is what drew me to burnout coaching is A, I've been through it. B, I'm I'm an intense person who's perpetually walking the line of burnout. So I better know how to coach myself away from it. And it's a fascinating, stigmatized experience for most people of like, it's actually your body working beautifully. There's too much. You're getting all these signals. Pay attention to them. Like there are things to do to bring it back. And in terms of Pancho, your question of what do you hold on to and what do you put down? In this experience, especially like your body doesn't distinguish work stress from relationship stress, from family stress. Like it's all just stress. But I think one of the things we miss the most is as our stress increases, our judgment decreases in quality and we get more confident in our bad judgment. It's this like super duper blind spot creator because you're like, I totally got this. And you're like, bro, you don't got this. And you don't got this like real bad. And in those moments when you can see other people start to notice it is when we say like, no, they don't understand. We push people away. And so
Yeah.
for me, what needs to like be put down is our own sense of rightness and the possibility that other people might have information and that our bodies might have information. So, generally we experience like meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting in many of our lives. And you just like, at the end of the day, you are a shell of yourself. You are a husk because there was no buffer or time to like integrate what you just experienced and to do anything with it. Like, might as well have not had those meetings because they were fully counterproductive. And like, what did you get at the end of the day? So, yeah, putting down the ego is important. And also the sense that we are only worthy if we are jamming and cramming through the day. No, you were going to say something, I think.
Yeah, it was one of the most fascinating experiences I've ever had. Like I am no stranger to mental health. I've been through deep bouts of depression, um, anxiety, and burnout, deep burnout to the extent that I was in exactly the state that you described was like nothing I could have ever imagined possible for myself. Because even while I was experiencing depression or anxiety, I still had my mental capacity. And when that went, and when my capacity to connect with others went,
Mm,
and when my
yeah.
capacity to show up socially went, I was like, "Whoa,
I got nothing. Yeah.
whoa."
Isn't it
Yeah,
crazy? Yeah.
it's crazy, and this is a symptom of our society. Like, we need to pump brakes, have boundaries, have red flags, warning signs, places for people to go lay in blankets and snuggle. Like, this cannot go on.
Sign up for that.
Yeah,
Snuggle
me
party.
too.
Cuddle puddle.
Yeah. I the thing that's coming to mind for me, because I think I would wonder, I'd venture to guess that most people in our society come up against this at some point in their careers, at least once. And a large part of them just take it as business as usual. This is just my life, like work just work just impacts me this way, and this is the way things are. And I will have to continuously for the rest of my life as a working professional have to struggle with the way that burnout or stress impacts everything that happens outside of work, including my mental acumen, my emotional well-being, my relationships. I went through this most of my 20s working in tech startups, and then I got away from it and somehow I got pulled back into it, and that was the last job I had before I decided I'm probably not cut out for being an individual working in a 10 to 300 person corporation that isn't yet profitable and is, struggling to reinvent itself over and over until it hits on that magic formula that's going to get investors to keep giving them money and eventually potentially go public. That's not the place for me. And it took me 15 years of burning out over and over to realize that. I think a part of what I notice a lot of the time that people struggle with is you grow up with a narrative that's subliminally handed to you about what your life is going to look like. This is what you do.
Mhm.
And when as a little kid you're asked, "What do you wanna do when you grow up?" There's a list of, like, 20 clearly defined, obvious, visible jobs that little kids choose from, and there's only a very small subset of kids who are like, "I wanna be a financial crimes investigator," or, "I wanna be, like, like, a forensic anthropologist," roles that are out there, but maybe they don't even have the context and the mental faculties to understand what that means, right? They see the policeman, they see the doctor, they see the firefighter, they see the teacher. And in my life, the way that I found works to manage this dynamic when I bump up against the capitalist society we live in is to burn those things, to burn those stories,
Mm.
to notice, like, okay, here's a thing I thought would dictate what my worth was. It's like a nice car that's detailed and clean all the time. And every Saturday, I spend 3 hours cleaning my car. And then I took a step back. I'm like, I go into the mountains every weekend and I drag dirt and leaves and little pebbles into the car and it gets dusty. Does it make sense for me to have these two competing things that ultimately take up a lot of my time when I could be riding my mountain bike on a Saturday instead of washing my car every week? Um, so that's an easy example that doesn't have a lot of teeth, but there are other examples that are really difficult. Like I always thought I was going to be a dad, and now I'm not so sure.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I had to figure out as the person I am today, what do I want to do with that story and that expectation of myself? And if I decide to set that dream aside because I realize it's not a dream that actually fits the person I am as an adult and it doesn't fit my values. What does that actually say about me? And then what does it say about me in the eyes of other people? And how do I want to relate with that as well?
Yeah.
So, Noah, you strike me as somebody who's had to do a lot of burning.
Yes. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
And the idea of motherhood is one of the things that I had to reconcile. I'm twice divorced. So the first time I got divorced, I was 29 years old, and it rocked me because I had um, a foundational story of marriage is forever. I thought that I was going to stay in the place where my family of origin was and have a big family. That's what I always wanted, was a house full of kids. And that is not the way that my life turned out. I got divorced at 29. I had to rebuild my life. I took a U-turn. I became a coach. I went into a PhD in human sexuality. Um, Freaked everybody out. And then I freaked everybody out further by dropping out of my beautiful free PhD with a really cool administrative job at a university and going into startup land in Los Angeles to become a CEO at age 36, which is when I got married for the second time. And at that point, I had to say goodbye to the dream of the big family. I had to say goodbye to the idea that I was going to become a doctor, and I had to choose, what is my passion? Who am I? Um, Another piece of it is home ownership, right? So thinking about the American dream, toxic individuality, how do you know that you've made it? You own a home, you own a car, you have 2.5 kids, white picket fence, you pay your taxes, right? Um, I suck at taking care of things. I don't know how to fix anything. And I don't stay home. I'm a human tumbleweed. Like, I travel all the time. And so for me, it really makes sense if I look at who I am as a content human to say, no, I need a little box that I can lock and walk away from and have somebody else fix the dishwasher when it breaks, right? And so you're right. These scripts and these stories, um, weigh us down, and I'm gonna bring it back to ritual, right? So, every single indigenous culture has some version of a medicine person. The purpose of that individual is to companion people when they are at a crossroads and life has changed, conditions have changed. You are no longer the person that you were, and you go on a vision quest. You go out into nature to decide, to figure out, who are you now? And here's the important part. What gifts do you have to bring back to your community? How do you reintegrate into your community in a different role? If I'm not going to be the mother, if I'm not going to be the doctor, how do I reintegrate? What are the gifts that I'm bringing to my community, right? And so when we go through these transitions, it's really healthy to have ritual embedded in that where we actually say goodbye to the possible
Mhm.
self and write letters to that person, maybe burn the letter, maybe disintegrate it in water, maybe celebrate the life that we didn't live to make room for the life that is opening.
Pancho, this
Yeah.
has reminded me of the episode we did on grief and how unprocessed grief is. My hot take on this is that unprocessed grief is responsible for a significant portion of dysfunctional behavior in our society. um,
Yeah.
because it sucks to feel the pain of grief, and we will do just about anything to not feel it. And it's not just like, oh, this is grief, I don't want to feel it. It's like, I am raging, and I also don't want to feel that. I am collapsing, and I want to feel that. So what will I do? The alternative you offered of ritual and acknowledging that this happened, it really was a loss. It's really not coming back. It's really over. It's really in your past. But to honor that and to say, close the loop so that mental tab isn't open, the rumination doesn't continue. You're not stuck in anger, bargaining, denial, depression, anger, bargaining, denial, depression. And you can finally exit to Pancho. You're going to have to edit that. Pancho does all the captions, and every time I do it causes trouble. um,
The
but,
AI that captions our words doesn't know what the is supposed to look like in writing.
I got to tell you,
Yeah.
I'll come back to the point I was trying to make, but one of my biggest challenges as a burnout coach is, you teach what you have to learn. And I am constantly teaching the lesson I need to learn, which is slow is smooth, smooth is fast, slow down, what that does somatically to the nervous system, because I do things like I don't even say words. I mumble and I make trills with my tongue. And to the point where, like, when I do Instagram reels, it captions me in Hindi because it has no effing idea what I'm saying. So I'm working really hard right now to go slow. Anyway, the point I was going to make is thank you for offering the grief alternative. And I am curious about your story and where you are now, because what I heard you say in the beginning was I was doing poorly up until a time ago. I heard you refer to it in the past. And just like I'm starting to read fiction books about like this time in our lives called COVID, like it's in our past enough that we're writing about it as like a past historical event. Like there's some space and distance, sort of. What is your relationship to I know, right? The space and distance, if at all, to where you were and sort of what made that difference for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm in a really interesting space, and um, I think navigating this space and time is going to be really helpful for me and others moving forward. Um, I'm in a space where I don't yet know what my next is. I don't
Mm,
yet know who I am becoming because I went through such a complete disintegration. Like when I was building our company, I felt like the caterpillar. Like, I don't know why the fuck I'm building this cocoon. What am I doing? This is so weird. How did I end up in LA? Like, what is happening? And I just did it. I worked, I worked, I worked, I worked, and then I crashed and I disintegrated into goo. And so I'm this little weird butterfly again that has like sticky wings, and I'm like, how did they flap? Did they fly? Like, I don't know. And that's where the stillness and the integration is coming in, is one day at a time, just taking a step and noticing and seeing and testing and experimenting. And ordinarily, I think from a capitalist society, performance-based, goal-oriented perspective, the idea would be like, okay, pick a future vision. What do you want your life to look like? Set a goal, take steps forward, move forward. But I'm not doing that. I'm staying still and noticing. What do I
Mm,
like? What works? What
mm.
happens? If I do this, what's the outcome? If I do that, what's the outcome? What do I need more of? What do I need less of? So, jury's out. We'll see how this next chapter goes, but it's a period of becoming.
It's beautiful and brave to be able to relate to it that way because sitting with the uncertainty of I don't know what's next is very
It's
uncomfortable for many people.
yeah. It
Yeah.
really, and the things that I'm finding myself doing are fascinating. I I was an English literature and feminist studies and comparative literature scholar in college, and I haven't picked up my books in forever. And I started rereading my favorite books from when I was 20. And
Mm.
the lens and experience that I now have at 45 to be able to relate to the literature in a different way has been stunning me. And so that's one of the things that I'm doing, of just like noticing who I am.
That's beautiful.
Highly
Pancho.
recommend the practice.
I do it. I have some
yeah,
reread books all the time.
yeah.
Yeah. Go
I'm
ahead.
already thinking, yeah, there's a ton. There's a ton of books. Like I haven't read The Alchemist in 20 years. How would that hit, compared with
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, or yeah. So I have two questions, Noel. I'm equally curious about either one. So I'm gonna throw both out and I'm curious, like, you pick the one that you're most interested in. The first one is you're this butterfly that's just figuring out like I've got wings, and you're taking a moment to sit in that and figure out what comes up. Like what have you found is true? What are the things, in this process of experimenting and noticing? what is actually solid that has transitioned from uncertain to certain, and, I wanna carry this with me moving forward. And then the other one is how has your because I'm a big nerd about this, I'm thinking about this all the time these days, how has your relationship with uncertainty changed
Yeah,
compared
yeah.
with what it was 10 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can tie both of those together, quite honestly. Um, so what's been coming up for me so much recently, is the relationship that I have with past versions of myself. So much of who I am in the world was informed by, my early experiences in alternative cultures. And there is a tremendous value in what I call lovingly the handshake economy, in who in your friends and who you rolled around with, and everybody helped each other and provided for each other. And I had chapters and years where people of all different sorts were in and out of my house. My cousins would be there, people would come, they would stay, they would go. It was a very communal based existence. And then when I ultimately conformed, and moved into a different way of being, a lot of that was lost for me. So I've been contending with a lot of grief in saying, wow, like there are really parts of myself that propelled and informed my success that I actually lost as a human as I grew up and I left Never Never Land. And I kind of want to get back there. Um, when I was young and I was in that space, I had a fantastic relationship with uncertainty
Mm,
because there was a social safety net. There was a communal safety net. There was a cultural safety net of belonging that always existed, whether it was music based or pub based, or, there was a bar that I used to hang out at where I would walk in and know everybody. There were different musical experiences that I would go to and know 70 people, out of the gate. I threw a party every year and 100 people would come, every solstice. um, I didn't I wasn't afraid because I knew my place in the world. When I moved into the solitary grind of achievement orientation, that's when my relationship with uncertainty got gnarly. And I got scared of not having enough, of not being enough, of not being able to provide for others, of not measuring up in the eyes of my family, of friends, of the circles that I was moving in, right? And now that I'm coming back to my original core, um, uncertainty is is challenging because of the difficult time that we live in, with the meta crisis, geopolitical strife, environmental strife, political strife, economic strife, just the front row seat that we have to violence and despair on a regular basis. Like that's real and it churns in the background. But the relationship that I have with uncertainty now is very solid because I have invented and reinvented so many times that I can look at a track record of resilience that spanned, oh, I don't know, almost 30 years and say like, well, I have no reason to believe I won't keep landing on my feet, like, and so I don't experience fear and anxiety and despair in the ways that I used to.
yeah. That's what happens when you burn shit up, you know? There's a real, like, what you're left with is the stuff that sticks and the stuff that's meant to be there and the seeds for, like, whatever's coming next. Yeah. It sounds like you've burned up the parts of you that were no longer serving, but, it's real painful. That's not a, like, "Oh, effervescent process." No.
Yeah. And
No.
the joy and comfort of teens and 20s isn't sustainable either in adulthood, right?
Mm.
And so, I think it's real that sometimes folks run away with a circus and they realize they're in a circus. And so there's that aspect of things too. of what is health, you know?
I love that saying so much. I'm gonna hold on to that one. Run
Mhm.
away with a circus, and then they realize they're in a circus. Kim, what you just said, burning shit up. What's an example of this in your life?
I will give you the answer to that question, but I want to answer a different question first.
Okay.
And even I just want to add something else. My I have like comfort rereads and I have comfort re-listens. So I'm a big like when I'm in just like a hard place, I'll go back to the music that like it
Mm.
is not I don't listen to it every day, but when I listen to it, I'm like, oh, the past, like my like teenage 20-ish year old self, for me it's U2. Like I am all over the place music wise, all over the place. But U2 is where like my brain formed when I was a teenager. And when I go back and listen to that stuff, I am soothed and transported. Joan Didion is my reread, and also there's a couple others, but Flannery O'Connor. But the Joan Didion, she wrote a number of different essays, but Slashing Towards Bethlehem, and the what you reminded me of, like they don't know they joined a circus and they're there, is the like Haight Ashbury 1967, just nonfiction account, literary nonfiction account of nobody taught these young people the rules. And for her, the rules were how to connect it, how to run a civil society and not like straight laced, gray suit, but just literally how to support each other, how to tolerate indifference, how to be a community in a way that is not just burning it all up. And it's beautiful. So it reminded me a little bit of that. But oh my God, my burning stuff up is Legion. um, Interestingly, I think one of the biggest sort of like who I was versus who I am now is and many, I don't know, crucibles along the way is probably the sense of I was just talking about this. Pancho and I are big fans of The Art of Accomplishment, Joe Hudson podcast series, and one of the frameworks I use all the time is the golden algorithm, where you end up creating the feeling you're trying to avoid. And it's so, so hard to notice it when it's happening. It's one of those things that you like really, really need another person to be like, oh, baby, it's not going well. My thing was I am an Enneagram 9. I'm a peacekeeper. I will keep the people happy. And it's been a survival skill for me. I'm really good at it. I am really good at being other people's safe spaces. And I love that about myself. And I loved it about myself a little too much. And so my burn it up was I have to not always be that safe space, even though that's literally my my identity in such a way that I was like, if that goes away, I cease to exist. I have a special kind of anxiety. I don't have normal anxiety. My therapist calls it annihilation anxiety. It doesn't register like other things. Like this might be another episode about annihilation anxiety. Like you want to hear some shroomy, trippy shit? Let me talk about annihilation anxiety. But it was really grounded in if I am not the safe space, I I literally cease to exist. And I had to go through the process of the deep discomfort of letting that be untrue, that I am everybody's safe space and I have capacity and it's okay. Like they can come to me, they can be okay with me. That was hard. And I use the term was very loosely. I am still so in it. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, well, c one of the things I know about that type of boundary work is that oftentimes when others are used to relying on someone to martyr themselves to provide that comfort unconditionally, and the human, you, stops doing that, the systems,
Oh my God.
relational systems get a little jumbled. How's that going, Kim?
Welcome to me, like in a new space. I mean, yeah. And I will tell you, speaking of burning shit up, oh, I don't know if you can see it. And there's a little candle over here that, can you see it? I don't know if this like screen can capture it. But I have realized, speaking of ritual, that in this new little space, it's really, really like I didn't do this before. I need a candle. Like it keeps me company. It keeps me I guess literally warm, but like I am all day on Zoom doing different things, and I've got that in my eyesight in the background, and it's comforting. It's that like that's the ritual, and that's the like seed from which the rest of this is blooming, blossoming, sort of the scaffolding. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. It's going okay though. Thank you. Yeah.
So we just got done talking about the things that we've set aside, and that we've had to, in some way, shape, or form burn, let fall away. What I'm curious about, what I get really excited about when I coach with people and they go through this process is what are the things that most people don't know about, don't think about, that their past self would have never imagined were going to show up in their future,
Hmm.
that they're now picking up and are really excited about. And possibly because Kim and I have been, I think this would be this is a teaser for a future episode that we have a title for called When You Change Everybody Else Gets Weird.
No, that's gonna be so
Yeah.
awesome.
It's gonna be a great episode. So stay
If you
tuned for
want
that
me to
one.
come back for that, I will.
No,
That
do
would be
it.
We would
great.
love to have you back for that
Reprise.
one. When you change, everybody else gets weird. But the reason that happens is usually when you change, especially in the context that we're talking about, you change away from whatever you unconsciously inherited from your parents, your friends, society, and you change in the direction of something that's more unique and true for you. And everybody else is like, I don't know what the fuck to do with that. So, I'm curious for both of you, starting with Noelle, what is something that you've picked up that you're like, this is 100% me, and it's weird and obscure, and all the people that were from before are weird about it, but you know that you're 100%, gonna pick up and carry this for the rest of the foreseeable future.
I mean, I wear Crocs. I think, like I wear I wear Crocs and I listen to Fish. Like
You are
that's
hippie. Do it.
Hell yeah.
yeah. Yeah, big time. But yeah, like I like bright colors. I like to dance. I'm always dancing. When I am in my when I am in my pure essence, when I am in my core self, I go through my days, even if I'm just at the checkout counter, like I'm dancing like in the store. And that's how I know that I'm in myself. That's how I know that like because my authentic self is a joy bubble, just a complete joy bubble. And so when I'm dancing and I'm a little bit, floppy muppet, that's when I'm me. Um, my foot gear does trouble some people from time to time, but hey, it's comfortable. It's effective.
Did you say your foot pedal?
Foot gear, foot
Foot
gear,
gear?
whether it's like Crocs or
Oh,
like
foot
ugly
gear.
weird things,
Oh, I thought you meant
sandals,
like foot on
or
the gas pedal. Yeah.
no, no, my choice of
Yeah.
shoes.
F 'em.
I wear the five-fingered toe shoes.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
Fucking love them. It feels so fun to wear them. They're the most that it makes me want to be bouncy as I walk. And people are like, those
yes.
are horrendous. What's wrong with you?" So right there
That's
with
my
you.
deal with the dancing. Like, yeah, it's like if my feet are bouncing, I'm happy.
yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I think mine is man, I am like a go big or go home kind of person. And it's not something that I don't know, I really loved and like respected about myself. Like everything. It's a little like nothing, everything or nothing. And like I mentioned, I'm an intense person, so like I really like spicy food, like really spicy food. I lift really heavy weights. I'm big energy. I change a lot and fairly quickly. I will do I eat big portions. I need a lot of protein. I need a lot of food and like I don't know, it's not really ladylike, and I left that, like, a long time ago, but not really. I mean, it sort of comes back every once in a while when I'm, like, with a bunch of small portion eaters, and I'm like, "Oh, boy, I'm gonna need 3 of those." And it's something that, like, I've had to notice about myself that's not a character flaw, it's just sort of like, this is who I am. I, like, take in the world in big gulps, and and that's just how I am. And so my energy goes from, big to then I'm, like, silent for several hours reading a book by myself.
Mhm.
And, like, that's how I'm the extrovert introvert type. I recharge and, yeah, and then I can, like, I'm really, really comfortable, like, with a big gulp of the world being I learn by doing. So I'll go out and try something in a really messy way. I am not really a perfectionist, so I pissed perfectionists off because 'cause I'm like, "I don't know, let's try it. Let's do it." And then I'm like, "Oh, try something else." And so I don't have as much of a, like, cringe factor, which works out well as an entrepreneur, because, you gotta try it. That's how you get the data real fast. But I think
Yes.
it's something I don't like feeling messy. I don't feel it like feeling imperfect and loose, but, like, I am. I am. So that's sort of what, like, old me wouldn't have liked to admit and, like,
Right.
other people around me can get, like, pissed off about. So,
Yeah.
yeah, great question. So, we are about at the hour mark. We started this conversation with we were gonna talk a little bit about, like, humans and nature and how, like, we have become an indoor species and what that has done to us. And we sort of got there in a roundabout way, but is there anything I've loved our conversation. Is there anything that is left unsaid from either of you about that topic? Because I know it's actually close to both of your hearts.
Yeah. Pancho, you.
Me. I think I mean, it's actually a segue from what we were just talking about. Um, I'm really fucking weird in my interests. Like I find a lot of things that most people find interesting. Um, I like that somebody told me the other day that I'm very punk rock in the way that I think. And then I didn't know what that meant. And they're you kind of like, you stick it, you throw the middle finger up when it doesn't make sense. Right. And so, as an example, coming back to what you were talking about, Noel, and this, I ostracized myself in doing this. I grew up with a heavy fear of being ostracized. I was the kid who got bullied basically all the way through, late elementary into most of high school. And so a big part of growing up for me was the project of how do I learn people so that I can fit in and not get bullied? I thought that's what I needed to do. And then I had to burn that, realize, no, I don't. I just get to be myself and people can't bully me if I don't allow them into, like that role in my life.
Mm.
Um, by literally not giving them time or space in my day. And so conventional sports, the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm about to make a lot of enemies here. When I think of the NFL, I don't think of, I don't even know how many people are on either side of the football team. Like a few dozen individuals on a football field doing heroic, like Herculean, peak of human performance things. I think of millions of people sitting at home on a perfectly good Sunday, drinking beer and eating a hot dog on a couch when they could be outside doing something with their lives. That's the NFL in my mind. You're passive. You're literally just experiencing glory through somebody else's accomplishments when you could be going out into the real world chasing after your own glory.
Oh,
So that's how my brain works. And a lot of people are like, I just wanted to talk about football, dude. Um so the people that what I where that leaves me is I like weird shit, like learning about birds and how they communicate. I like going outside and, like that's how I make friends. I make friends being outside with people on bikes or rock climbing. And um and sometimes those things make a lot more sense to me than what 90+% of the population would say makes sense. Like, I think it makes sense that we grew up, like as well, we didn't grow up, we evolved as humans predominantly being outside. And the way this whole thing works involves being outside. And when you stop doing that, this doesn't work like it's supposed to. And there's a lot of, like there's a lot of bro science out there about that. You can go listen to Huberman about how important it is to, sleep while the sun is down, wake up and go get daylight first thing the sun comes up, because that's what people did. And that's how your brain is supposed to work, for the majority of the existence of humanity. Um, and I just think it's way fucking cooler than looking at a TV screen to like go outside and look at some birds. And most people would be like, "What the hell are you talking about? Birds are loud or annoying." Like I hate when there's birds outside making noise. Like, no, you could take a different perspective here. And it's more in line with the big picture, capital T truth reality of who you actually are as an animal that evolved to be really smart. So
I want our
yeah.
millions of fans to fight this out in the comments. Get in the
Yeah,
comments.
I
What are your
agree.
thoughts on football
Right,
fans?
and, I have a hilarious story along the same lines, not involving football, but similarly, I don't watch television or movies. So for
Mm,
me, it's a conversational black hole, and it's often challenging for others when I just have no point of reference, right? I was in, casual conversation in my community recently, and folks were talking about Survivor. I interpreted somehow what was being talked about as survivorship, like domestic violence survivorship, and they were talking about the reality television show. And so I was having this
You went there.
conversation with these people, and we were just like going like,
just
and my friend was looking at me
podcast.
like, "What fucking planet are you from, girl?" And I was like, "I don't know what's happening right now." I was really high, but like it was,
This
it,
is
it
awesome.
was it
But Noelle, wouldn't it have been any different if you weren't?
maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
I might have picked up on different cues in a different way. I don't know, but it was hilarious because I was like dead serious in my feels, and it was a mess. But um, to Pancho's point about being who you are, like figuring out where you make your friends, where you feel most authentic, and thinking about humans becoming an indoor species. And one of the things that we all need to do in getting outside is to find some version of connection. So whether that are birds or other humans, or going to run around a softball field and play kickball, or whether that's playing out with your kids, or whether that's finding a crafting group that you enjoy. I started doing clay classes, and it is like my sanctuary to go and build terrible looking bowls and mugs for everyone that I love, on Wednesday nights, right? So like these are the kinds of things that it takes a lot of bravery to engage in. And so knowing that it is hard to leave your house. I think of Lord of the Rings, of Frodo.
Mm.
One of the most dangerous things in the world is to walk outside of your home, because you never know what adventure is going to befall you. And that's one of our birthrights as humans, is to explore the world in whatever way we are drawn.
I love that. I will say, I am in this home right now that is on an island off the coast of Rhode Island. And was built in the 1800s, and it's perfectly cylindrical.
Mm.
And except for 1/4 of it is wrapped around a massive boulder. So this whole house is a circle, and then there are doors that you open, and it's just granite or some type of rock that they built this house into, and the ocean is right there. And so I feel like I live in a soup can on the sea. Like, it's this perfect, like, quite literal embrace of nature. And sort of like Pancho, to your point of like, the world wasn't made for us, but like, I'm in community with nature in a very real way of like, I can open up my door, I can see the ocean, and I am like at all times metaphorically hugging rocks, right like this. And it really, yeah, it's a really connecting experience. Yeah.
What a metaphor, right? The difference between taking out the boulder or taking out the tree so that you can put a house there, compared with building around it to incorporate it.
Yeah. It's really cool. Okay. So
Love
as
that.
we go, maybe one thing that you are excited about, Noelle and Pancho and me eventually, excited about the next week, the next month, what's lighting you up?
Mm. Halloween's coming up, and I every year I dress as a giant egg. So fun fact about the giant egg. So I learned a long time ago that if I go to co-working spaces and I wear my egg, people don't talk to me. So that's how, and I, and so, and so I bust out my egg in solidarity with many past versions of myself every year. I've worn it to hard meetings. If I have to have a hard conversation with somebody, I'm going to wear the egg costume. So I'm gonna be donning my egg soon, and I'm pretty stoked. That was my LA trick. I was like, I did not want to be in community with the people I was around, so I would put my egg on, and everybody left me alone.
That is
All of
the
that.
opposite reaction I'd expect.
I would
No, it
definitely be
was like,
like,
"Oh, there's the
"What's
weird
with the
girl, the
egg?"
egg costume."
Yeah, no, I would wanna know all about your egg. I wanna know about it right now, but we are short on time, so I'll ask you about it later. Yeah, uh, I don't know that I can that I mean, that's a hard act to follow, Noel. Um, I suck at dates. Dates are not my love language. My love language, Steph, my wife and I we thought early on in our relationships, like, yeah, we both physical touch. I am physical touch, not actually how she grew up. So she likes it, but hers is quality time. And I'm like, it's always quality time. What are you talking about? I love hanging out with you. I see you, 30 times more than anybody else in my life. But for her, it looks a particular way. And so we haven't done one in a while. And I volunteered to be the one to plan it. And I found a really cool date idea just across the park that is, on the other side of the park that's across the street from my house is University of Nevada, Reno, and they have a planetarium.
Oh, I love
And
planetarium.
and so we're gonna go to the planetarium tonight to watch a whole movie on like the formation of elements in the universe and how they end up making their way into our human existence as part of our bodies and the building blocks for everything else we surround ourselves with. So
Pancho,
super
I want to
nerdy
be a
date
third
idea.
wheel on that date.
I know it's
Take
gonna be such
me,
a great
take
date.
me.
I'm really proud of myself and I'm excited for it. So that's later this afternoon. Yeah.
Oh my God. Tell
Good.
me
What
how
about
good.
you?
So I have big gulps of life. Tea. I drink so much tea. I love tea. It's everything. It is everything. I've got so much tea in this house. And there's a particular brand that I really, really love. And it just like it fills me up. Anyway, they send out a like really nice catalog once every 6 months or so. And I read it like a novel, every little line. And then I discovered that they have a store. This is Harney and Sons. They have a store in Millerton, New York, which is the like Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York little area. It's 3 hours away from me, and they apparently have a factory. I don't know if they do public tours, but I'm going to ask them. I'm going to go to that. I'm taking one of my kids was like, "I'll go with you," so we're going to go.
Awesome.
Yeah. Only one of the twins is into tea, so The two of us will go. Oren and I will go. And we're going to go and we're going to like explore this store. I don't know if they're like ready for us, but we'll have to give them a heads up. And then I'm totally going to ask before, like, can we do a tour of your factory? Like, I would love to see. I saw the Celestial Seasonings factory in Boulder when I was out there, and like the peppermint room where you have to wear goggles because it's so intense. I want that. I want to see tea on a large scale. So I'm planning this. I'm really excited.
Gulp tea experience coming right up.
I will keep you all posted. I'm sure you'll be dying to know my experience.
Yeah.
I am.
ask
I
about
am.
it.
Yeah. And I'm excited to, Noelle, see you in person in 2 weeks. So
Yes, I'm
For our
excited. I'm gonna
conference.
be crying and hugging for days.
yeah, yeah, you'll go through it, and then Monday you're gonna be wrung out on the couch. A lot of sourdough bread.
Yes.
Good. Okay, friends.
All right.
Thank you.
Noelle,
Thank you, Noelle.
thank you for joining us.
This
Such a
was
pleasure.
lovely. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me. I had a blast. What a fun podcast. Kudos. Hats off, guys.
Thank you. And if you want to come back and talk about how everyone gets weird when we change, would love to
Ooh.
have you back.
Oh, I
Let's do
love
it.
that topic. I have
Okay.
such a deep, weird birth of that.
Awesome.
Get ready. Get ready, fans.
Go.
All right.
All right.
All right, friends. I'll see you next
Bye, everyone.
time.
Yep. Thank you.